Well, let's connect with Naveen Mishra, the Vice President and Team Manager at Gartner, to get a lowdown of what the IT sector has been in the quarter to India as well as globally, and what we can expect going ahead from the entire IT sector. Mr. Mishra, thanks so much for taking the time out and joining us and speaking to us at ET Now. I wanted to get a sense of I wanted to understand, basically get a lowdown on the entire IT results in quarter two. They have been muted but largely better than what we had seen in quarter one. Most companies are saying that they're expecting mid-single digit growth, but now that results seem to be improving, will 2025 see the return of double-digit growth in IT spends?
Thanks for having me here. For 25, let's talk about the good news. Overall, IT spend for India, we expect about 11 plus percentage points. So yes, we are getting into that double digit growth now for 25 when it comes to the IT spend in India. And as you mentioned, things are improving. And in 25, we expect GenAI becoming a big driver for growth around the world and including India. Actually, today, I'm in Kochi where we are hosting about few thousand CIOs, and GenAI seems to be a top priority for them in terms of driving business changes, productivity, as well as process improvements. So 25 looks a lot more positive as compared to 24.
Okay, so that's sounding good, but Mr. Mishra, you also spoke about Gen AI. Now, until last year, Gen AI was largely a proof of concept. Do you think actual spendings are going to translate into the company this year? Are they going to actually be focusing on Gen AI? How much of a thrust can Gen AI have when it comes to IT earnings going ahead?
Number one, in 25, for the first time, we will start seeing enterprises putting a AI or Gen AI budget, which means the proof of concepts will finally start seeing paid engagements. And that is where we will see translation of the proof of concepts moving into production. Yes, there's a long way for us to go, but 25 will start bringing that optimism of uh, the initial use cases becoming real, not only for IT leaders, but also for the functional leaders within the businesses. Now, the second part of a question, which is as more and more enterprises start moving their pilot use cases to production, IT services companies who have been spending a lot of money on GenAI use cases, they will start seeing real translation of that, which will have a positive impact on their pipeline, their revenue, and the overall business outcome.
Okay, Mr. Mishra, so sounding optimistic when it comes to Gen AI spends, but when we talk about the consensus commentary that we've heard from companies in quarter one, BFSI seems to have bottomed out. Discretionary spends have picked up. Now, with more clarity on the US elections and the Fed, will we now see the return of discretionary spends, or will it still largely be cost optimization efforts coming from companies?
Uh, Even when we look into the Gen AI, there is a big element of cost there as well. So cost will remain one of the drivers even in the early 2025. But along with that, we will see improvement on productivity and that and some elements of the business led growth, which will drive actually some of the discretionary spend. So 25 to me looks like a combination of cost story and then some of the discretionary spending coming back on IT services specifically.
Okay, Mr. Mishra, point taken, but also help us understand the segments that we can expect to see the maximum growth in, because you have Gen AI, you have artificial intelligence that's come into the
Yeah.
forefront, data centers are taking the center stage. Tell us, which segments are you expecting to see the most growth going ahead in?
Um, Within enterprises, we expect financial services, banks, some of the retailers, a lot of the B2C activity. This is where AI has already been tested, and GenAI brings that next level of spend and capabilities. So my expectation is that these commercial enterprises who have very strong B2C engagement models, they would be the first from banking to retail and even some of the other FMCG companies to be actually leading with Gen AI investments going forward. And then we also see governments focusing on it within India and internationally as well. So it's a combination of these sectors where we will see more Gen AI driven use cases and investments in the next 12 to 18 months.
Mr. Mishra, let's zoom out a little bit, talk about the global IT scenario that we're seeing now. I want to, case in point, I want to draw your attention to Capgemini and Cognizant. We've seen quite the divergent outlooks coming in. Capgemini has cut its guidance. Cognizant is sounding optimistic. So tell us what the global IT scenario is looking like. What's going to be the view on outsourcing, on consulting? Just give us a broad sense of what you are making of the global IT scenario right now.
So the global IT scenario is also expected to grow in 25 in about 6 to 8% growth rate. Areas such as consulting is going to be one of the big growth drivers in that. Now, when we look into things such as BPO and some of the traditional services, they will remain a bit more tighter as compared to areas such as consulting and application. So we just need to be careful in terms of which areas are we thinking. Consulting, people trying to think about new areas around app modernization, even cloud. Those would be the areas where there will be more spend as compared to the traditional BPO and other infrastructure oriented services that will remain a bit tighter for at least the next 12 months.
Okay, and lastly, Mr. Mishra, before we let you go, give us a sense of the geographical outlook that you are spotting for IT companies across major geographies. Help me understand, 2025 is going to be the year for the US, UK, Europe. Where are you seeing most IT growth happening?
Bulk of the IT growth that we expect to happen is going to come from North America, number one. Number two, we talk about some of the emerging markets like India. Those will be the areas where we expect a strong growth. I mean, for India, we talk about double-digit growth. For North America, we talk about high single-digit growth. So these would be the markets where there would be priority spend happening. Some parts of Europe will be a bit tighter, as we all expect in the first half of 2025. But then, as things pan out, hopefully the second half of 25, even we'll see better spend coming out from Europe as well.
Okay, so that's the pecking order. North America, emerging markets, as well as some parts of Europe is where Gartner is expecting to see the most IT growth coming in from. Mr. Mishra, thank you so much for joining us. On that note, we'll let you go.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.